So welcome, I'm Katie Dunn, the Director of Educational Planning here at Prep Matters. And tonight for our town hall, we will be thinking about how to think about your high school transcript. I know that it is course registration time. I'm getting a ton of questions. I just had a student say to me, so I got my CRF and it took me a few minutes to get that she meant course registration form. So I'm going to get started if I can make my Zoom work appropriately and just jump right in. So when you're thinking about course registration and when you're thinking about your transcript as a whole, I often recommend that students think about their academics as a four-year plan. Whatever point you are in that plan is okay, but you want to think about where did I come from? Where am I going? You want to think about your academic direction. Are there some things that you're excited to study? Some things that you are maybe less excited to study? You want to think about your own time. What demands do you have on your schedule? What other activities perhaps are you interested in? Or what other obligations or activities take up your time? You want to think about rigor. I know you've probably heard the word rigor a lot, so we will talk about that a great deal. But you also want to think about what we would say is performance or excellence. You want to think about your grades. Ultimately, the most important thing in your college process are your grades. And then we also, at this point, well then, once you've sort of considered all those pieces, we'll take a look at what your options may be. So the first question I like to start with for most of my webinars is, well, how important is all this anyway? Colleges have so much information and they are looking at different ways of evaluating students. Where do these pieces fit in? So every year, the National Association of College Admissions Counseling, we call that NACAC, which is an organization that is a membership organization for most college admissions professionals in the country, which means almost every college is a member of NACAC, and folks like me and your college counselors at school are also members of NACAC. And so this professional organization asks colleges every year to tell us how they are evaluating students, how they are looking at all the different parts of an application and where they rank in importance in their process. So not surprisingly, the most important things are typically the academic components, your grades, the strength of your curriculum, which we'll also call rigor, and your test scores. And we'll come back to that a little bit later, but we do want to think about placing these choices in the context of your college process. They're pretty important. Strength of curriculum is right there in the third box. So what I hear when I talk to students about college admissions and college course registration in particular, I hear a lot of myths and some facts, but mostly what I hear are some sort of true myths. There's some words out there that you'll hear that sound really compelling, and there's usually a bit of truth in them. But sometimes as they go through all of the different tellings, they start to feel a little more like a fact than they need to. So we're going to examine some of these sort of true myths today. So the first sort of true myth is, I need to know what I will study in college so I can, so I can choose my major when I apply to college. So the answer to this is a little tricky, and the real answer is sort of. You don't typically need to know your major. Most colleges have gotten away from asking you to declare a major. But they often do want you to know your academic direction. Many colleges will ask you to write an additional essay, for instance, about what academic direction you'd like to go in and why you're considering that. Some of them will also ask you, what have you done already to explore that direction? So it's a good idea to start thinking about that in high school, but it's a bad idea to feel like you have to decide right now what you are going to do with your life. And I tell you that because the vast majority of adults, now you might know some who are exceptions, but the vast majority of adults that I know are not doing what we thought we'd be doing when we were 18. And part of that is there are so many jobs out there. There's so many careers that you actually probably can't even imagine when you are a sophomore or a junior or a senior in high school, because you just haven't had exposure to those things. In high school, we keep your classes pretty separated and in the same core environment. So it's tough to know some of the things you can do with them. I know one student who graduated from college with a double major in business and biology. And she said, I don't know what job I'm looking for, but those are the things I'm really good at. And I really loved what I studied, and I will find it. It's out there. She did find it. She has been for 20 years helping medical devices and the FDA work on all of the components of that process. So she's doing good with her biology, she's helping the world, and she's doing a great deal of understanding kind of business and marketing and consulting. And so that's what colleges want you to think about. What are you good at? What directions might that take you? Now, there are some exceptions. There are some majors that you do have to declare when you enter college. Often that is nursing, typically engineering, sometimes undergraduate business, although not always, and sometimes the hard sciences. Those are programs that tend to take 4 years. So if you're looking at some of those programs, it won't be true at every school, but you'll want to be careful with those schools to make sure that you do know what direction you're going in. The second sort of true myth, if my Zoom lets me, there we go, is that you have to choose the hardest classes and get the perfect grades by any means necessary. Now, we all know that there is a lot of pressure on high school students these days. A lot of us feel the need to be as close to perfect as we possibly can. And I got to tell you, it is one of the things that worries me most about students. And I worry a lot when it feels like they think that we are saying that is important and necessary for getting into college. It's absolutely not. Now, colleges want you to challenge yourself. College is school. So they want you to be able to handle high-level school. But they also are asking you to learn about yourself, to know what you're good at, to find the balance in your life, to realize that, frankly, life's about choices and you can't do everything. So you're looking for balance. And the balance that you're looking for is to push yourself for some challenge, but also maintain the excellence that you're used to maintaining. Now, that doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean all A's. It just means push yourself and also still be a good student. And also be a person. Have friends, do activities, sleep, watch TV, work out, all of the other things you want to do with your time. The way we recommend students think about this is called the zone of proximal development. And what that means is you want to find the sort of trajectory of things that you can do kind of without even thinking about it. And things you can't do no matter how hard you work. I am good at a lot of things. If I tried to take multivariable calculus tomorrow, I would not be able to do it, even if I had the best tutor in the world. And then you're looking for the zone of proximal development, which is right there in the middle. Things you can do, but you got to push yourself and maybe get some help from a teacher, maybe have a strong support, maybe have a tutor. You want to be in that spot. We call that kind of the sweet spot, where you're pushing yourself to take hard classes, but you are still able to reasonably do well in them. But you're not just resting on stuff that's easy and getting a bunch of A's because you think A's are important. A's are important, but the zone of proximal development is much more important. So of course, this leads us to the question that I hear most often from families. What's better, an A in an honors course or a B in an AP course? And the answer that I and every other counselor I know always gives is, well, what's better is an A in an AP course. But that's not the right answer. What you want to think about is, again, where you are able to push yourself to be successful, but also where you are able to manage the mastery of the course and the rest of your life. Now, here's what this matters. The reason colleges care about you taking rigorous courses in high school, the reason they care about APs is not just because they want you to, stay up all night and stress out and panic in high school. It's because there is evidence that students who participate in an AP or an IB college level course in high school are more successful in college. And colleges are in the business of helping you be successful. They want you to get there, they want you to graduate. So a couple of years ago, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill pulled together a study that really looked into this data. And what it shows is for every AP course that you take, or IB or dual enrollment, for every college level course that you take in high school, in all 4 years of high school, there is a correlation to a slightly higher freshman year GPA. But as you can see on this chart, that correlation goes up and up until you hit 6 courses. At 6 courses, you've seen about a 0.25 GPA jump from a student who didn't take any college level courses in high school. But after 6, it plateaus. And after 10, it starts to go down a little. So colleges aren't looking for you to take every possible AP course you can take. They're just looking for you to have had the level of preparation that comes from taking a couple of AP or IB courses. Now, if you are someone for whom those courses don't feel particularly challenging and you're really still pushing yourself, maybe you get up into the 8, 9, 10 range. But there's no reason to push yourself there if it's not coming super naturally, because colleges don't think that makes a difference. What colleges want to see is that you've done it and they know you can think at that level and they know you can work independently, and that shows them that you're ready for the college experience. So for you, your job is to figure out those courses that make sense for you to push yourself, and the courses that you're willing to stay up a little late or do some reading on your own or work independently, even though it's going to be more challenging. The next sort of true myth that I hear a ton: students who go to better high schools have a better chance of getting into better colleges. And this is one actually that I find is really tricky in the Washington, D.C. area, especially because we have 1 million great high schools, private schools, public schools, big schools, small schools. So there's a lot of question marks around this idea. And here's the reality of it. You are seen in the context of your high school. In fact, high schools send what they call a school profile with your transcript to colleges. And so it says things like, we don't let our students take more than 3 APs in a year at a time. So you might be looking at one of our kids next to a kid who took 4 APs this year. It wasn't that our student wasn't able to do that, we just don't let them. Or it might say, this is our curriculum. This is our class average. This is where our students go to college. So it will give information about the school. And you can ask your college guidance counselor, your school college counselor, if you can see your school profile. It might be interesting to take a look at what they're telling colleges. So the other piece is that colleges do what they often call read by region, which means that their job as admissions officers is to know the schools, is to know, hey, this school has a reputation for being incredibly independent. This school has a reputation for really providing a ton of great student support. This one has a great study abroad program. So colleges are supposed to know those things. And so they will be able to see your transcript in the context of what opportunities you had, what challenges you might have had, the level of rigor that even your on-level courses would have offered. All of that is a part of evaluating your transcript. And they're always looking to those things in order to give you more context and therefore help understand your choices more authentically. The only way that that changes is when you take classes that are not in your school curriculum, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So when you're thinking about what courses to take, you want to think about, well, what's available at my school? Does my school offer advanced placement courses? Does my school have an international baccalaureate program? Do we have a magnet program? Do we have any sort of special pathway for engineering or business? any sort of diploma designation for language or global studies? Do we have dual enrollment classes? Those are all ways that you can take charge of your transcript and kind of tell your personal story. You can also look outside your curriculum. If you are someone who is really eager to explore, say, entrepreneurship, since you were a kid, you've been setting up lemonade stands and starting small businesses, and you can see yourself really running something exciting and innovative in the future. And you want to study entrepreneurship to think about what that means. But maybe your school doesn't offer entrepreneurship. So in that case, you might look outside your school curriculum and investigate an option of a summer program or taking a class at a local college or spending 2 weeks at a college somewhere across the country in the summer. You could also take an online course or do a personal study through YouTube. There's a lot of ways that what we would say you are adding extra curriculum to your academics. When you think about these questions, here's what you want to think about. Colleges are looking at your transcript for 3 things. First, they are looking at your grades. First and foremost, it's always grades. Second, they are looking at your rigor. What choices did you make when you had an opportunity to take a challenging course? What choices does your school offer you? And third, they are looking at, if you have told us you have an academic direction, do we see any evidence in this transcript that this student was making choices in that direction? And that's where this extra curriculum can come in, that you might be applying to college. Maybe you didn't really think about your academic direction until later on in high school. I had a student ask me yesterday in a webinar, well, I started out high school really thinking I wanted to be a STEM student, really thinking I wanted to be an engineer. And I've just discovered that that's not the path for me. But now I feel like my transcript only shows me wanting to be a chemist, wanting to be an engineer. And that's okay. Colleges want you to explore and grow and learn about yourself. So if there's something that you're interested in exploring, you might want to look outside of your high school to try and show that story in your transcript as well. Now I want to think about how the nuts and bolts of how you make these choices right now. Because it's not always a clear answer and it's not always entirely up to you. At most schools, there will be a couple different sort of hoops to jump through as you make your course selections. It might depend on your grades. It might depend on your teacher recommendations. You might have heard from other students that a particular course is awesome or terrible or really interesting or really super hard. You might ask your teachers to recommend for you or let you know what they think about some courses and your particular talents. And ultimately, this is a job of self-reflection. You want to think about, okay, what helps me get excited about school? Where am I most efficient? Where am I most engaged? Which classes have been my favorite? If I have a cold and a headache and I'm tired and I don't feel like going to school, what's the class that gets me out of bed? So ultimately, most of the college admissions process is about having a strong sense of self to try and find the best place for you to end up. And it starts with choosing great courses. Now, I want to walk through all the different major core disciplines and talk about some of the options that I think students are struggling with, especially as you hit the kind of junior and senior year questions. So we'll start with English because I was an English teacher. So the critical decision, and for most students for English, comes between sophomore year and junior year. Should I take the AP Lang? And then senior year, should I take the AP Lit classes? So those are the advanced courses offered at most schools for English. So what you want to think about with these classes is they are a level above on critical thinking and independent work from your other English classes. There will be a ton of outside of class reading and writing. And when I mean outside of class reading, I mean sometimes you might get assigned a book and be told to finish it in four weeks on your own. And you won't be going through it in class. You'll just come back later expected to be able to discuss the whole book. That's a highly independent skill that many students have not been taught in grade school and early high school, because that's not how we teach English. Now, I will say the AP Lang class is a class that colleges love to see because they know that this is a high level course. There are a ton of APs out there. Some of them are considered a little bit more rigorous than others. And AP Lang is one that is really highly respected. If you're in an IB school, this is the reason that a lot of students opt to take your IB class, your English as an HL. Because again, it's seen, colleges know that writing and critical thinking are fundamental to most other skills you need in college. And they know if you've taken AP Lang or if you've taken IBHL English, then you've gotten those skills. The other big course that a lot of students ask about is math. Those are the other sort of major 4-year sequence. You really do want to get to at least pre-calculus. If you are on a track where you're not going to get to pre-calculus, that's a time to take a step back and think about whether there's a summer course you could take or an online course you could take. If you enter high school taking algebra, you might take algebra freshman year, geometry sophomore year, algebra 2 junior year, and then pre-calculus senior year. And that would be a pretty standard high school curriculum. Many students start a little more advanced than that. Many students take math at the algebra level or the geometry level in middle school. And so in that case, you would probably start, say, at geometry and make your way up past pre-calculus in junior year to calculus senior year. The thing about math is it takes very consistent work. So whereas we said in English, you need to be doing a lot of critical thinking and outside reading, in math, you mostly just need to be consistent, getting that homework done every night, asking for help if you don't understand it. If you miss a night and you didn't understand it, and you go back the next night to do the next night's homework, you're going to understand that one even less. So with math, it's about consistency and practice. And we sequence our courses essentially the same in most high schools in the country because they sort of build upon themselves in a linear manner. So one of the questions we get a lot then is a ton of students end up in pre-calculus as a junior. They maybe took algebra freshman year, algebra in 8th grade, and geometry freshman year, algebra 2 sophomore year, pre-calculus junior year. The natural next step in the sequence would be calculus. But some kids took algebra in 8th grade and all of those other courses, but really aren't enjoying their math sequence. They're really not excited about it. And they really want to push themselves in, say, history or science or English. That's where they want to put their AP classes. That's where they want to put their extra rigorous work. So then we often will get the question about, should I take calculus or should I take AP statistics? And AP statistics is a great course for a student who still wants to show that they are a committed and interested scholar ready for college level work, but just maybe weren't on the calculus track. They'll save calculus for when they get to college. And the AP stats class is, it's an AP course, it's an AP math, but it is not at the level of rigor as a calculus AB or calculus BC would be. Instead, it's a much more straightforward course. And it's a course that's very much grounded in the real world. You get to think about the way to use statistics and math all over the place. One of the things we hear often from students in math classes is, when am I ever going to use this? In AP stats, you'll always use it. But calculus, colleges also really look at that calculus class as a sign that you are a serious student. So you want to think carefully, especially if you're applying to highly selective schools, before you're willing to drop the calculus class. I once had a college tell me that it's not that they care that you learned calculus. It's that if you've taken calculus, they know that you have been asked to think at a higher level of abstract math thinking. Because up through pre-calc, the math has not hit those levels of abstraction yet that you start to get in calculus. So you want to think about, again, where am I going to push myself and still be able to maintain excellence? And what overall story do I want my transcript to tell? Now, science tends to be a course that you don't have much choice in the beginning, and then you have a ton of choices as you get through the middle of high school. Most high schools start out with bio or physics, and most students take chemistry second. Now, even if you are not a super sciencey person, I would recommend that you take bio, chem, and physics at some point in your high school career. One of the ways that colleges are still a little bit traditional is that they really like to see all 3 lab sciences on your transcript. Even if you are going to, like me, be an English major, they really want to see that you have explored all of the different levels of science. But then after that, you have a ton of options. If you are super into this and very sciencey, you can jump into an AP Bio or an AP Chemistry or an AP Physics. Those are incredibly interesting and intense high-level classes. They're very high-level APs. At many schools, they actually will take up 2 classes on your course registration. But they are really engaging. There's a lot of independent thought. There is a lot of reading, especially in the AP levels of these classes. And it's worth thinking about that because up until about sophomore year in high school, you probably haven't done a lot of reading to learn in your science classes. In bio, often you will find a lot of reading to learn. And then really when you get into the AP options, you are expected to be able to do that reading on your own to understand the material. Beyond those 3 AP classes, there is also the option of AP Environmental Science, which is not considered quite as rigorous as biochem and physics at the AP level because it's not a lab science, it's a theoretical science. And it is a very cool course. So a ton of really high achieving students do the biochem and physics in the first 3 years, and then the AP Environmental Science senior year, because they're interested, because they want to take a high level science, but because they're not quite ready to commit to the bio, the chem, or the physics at the AP level. Maybe they have some other higher level classes, and that environmental science is a really good fit for them. There are also at most high schools, you end up with a ton of really cool science options in junior or senior year. Things like anatomy and kinesiology and forensic science. So you get some great choices, and those are great electives to throw into your schedule if you're excited about them. They tend to be a little bit less work, so they are not quite as intense, but they still really tell a college that you are making academically responsible choices, that you're trying to fill up your schedule with things to help you learn. I just want to jump to one of the questions we received because it's an important and timely one. So regarding calculus versus AP statistics, what about for business majors? How do you feel about AP Calc AB as a junior, followed by AP Stats as a senior, rather than AP Calc BC as a senior? AP Calc BC is the highest level of math offered at our high school. First of all, great question, very well worded. Probably as a potential business major, I would suggest that you take the calculus, given an option either in junior year or senior year. And then yes, you could absolutely, as a business major, take the AP Calc AB in junior year and the AP Statistics senior year, because statistics is also a critical part of being a business major and would probably give you a ton of interesting things to say in your essays or in your interviews. All of those would be strong choices. But I would say probably as a potential business major, I would hesitate to go from pre-calculus to AP Stat. Great question. Okay, let me jump back to my presentation. All right. History or social sciences. So history and social sciences is often the place where colleges see you getting a little more flexibility. If you're going to drop any core subject in your senior year, this might be the place that you do it. Because a lot of students are still taking that 4th year of science, but maybe want some room for an additional elective, maybe the AP Stat or the AP Environmental. This might be a place where you could lighten your load without too much of a hit to your rigor. I will say one of the core classes that colleges always want to see is US history in some form. The AP US class that many students take is considered a very again, kind of with calculus and AP Lang, AP US is considered a mark of rigor, a mark of a serious student. I should say I have multiple master's degrees, and the hardest class I've ever taken was AP US. So thank you to my AP US teacher for teaching me how to write and how to think. But it is a very critical course for a lot of students. It's usually a course that feels real tough at the start, and you are real proud of yourself at the end. There's a lot of writing, a lot of really high level critical analysis of historical works and of the past and the present. We have another question in here. Oh, thank you. Let's keep jumping forward. World languages. Now, I get this question a ton. We, at most high schools in this area, we are actually most high schools throughout the country, we only require 2 years of a foreign language to graduate from high school. Unfortunately, colleges really want to see 3 years. And so a lot of students, with the best of intentions, are looking at their college, their high school graduation requirements and trying to figure out where to fit things. And they decide, well, great, I've finished with this. I've got enough French under my belt, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop this. And I would really caution against that. First of all, the students in the US tend to speak significantly fewer languages than students in many other parts of the world. And you will be competing against international students for college admissions as well. But also, again, this is one of those places where colleges have some things they consider kind of the mark of a serious student. And a 3rd year of language is often the mark of a serious student. So I would highly recommend, you don't have to take it all 4 years if there's a lot that you're trying to fit into your schedule. But remember, you have a ton of time in college to take all of the things that you want to fit into your schedule. Little animation there for you. So then when you get past all those core classes, we always get a question about electives. You know, I've said every transcript has a story. And so a lot of students say, well, does that mean that then I have to take electives that really build my story, that really build that narrative and tell my story? And that's one way to do it. You can absolutely do that. A lot of students will take that path. That was, I think, the concern of the student who spoke to me last night, that he had been building a narrative and now he wasn't sure it was the narrative he wanted. So also, it's totally reasonable to take the path of exploration, kind of exploring a lot of different ideas. I'm interested in history. I'm also interested in science. I'm also interested in statistics. So I would say the rule of thumb is to be thoughtful and to think about, like everything, challenging yourself and exploring academic options. One thing that's important when you get to the college process, regardless of which pathway you've taken or what choices you've made, you have an opportunity in your essays in a couple different ways in the college process to explain to the colleges what you were doing with your transcript, what choices you made, what you were exploring. And so whichever of these paths you choose, be thoughtful about it and then share that with college admissions officers. So I want to take a couple of choices here to take a look at some students. This is one student, we call it case study number 1. In the junior year, the student took on-level English and earned an A, and really doesn't dig English, so is planning to take on-level English 12 as well. They took pre-calculus, earned a B, and this was the first semester, so this is kind of junior year, January, so right now. They have B in physics, a B in pre-calculus, an A in AP US history, good for them, hard class, and a B+ in Spanish 3. So a couple sort of obvious choices. If you have a B+ in Spanish 3 and you're a junior, I want you to take Spanish 4. So we're going to put Spanish 4 on that senior year plan. If you have an A in AP US history, that's a great place to be. You really want to push yourself maybe in the social sciences, maybe a real talent for you. So then I would recommend that you take the AP Comparative Government class. Not quite as rigorous as the AP US, but a great, interesting course that students tend to love and that colleges really like to see, especially as a follow-up sort of companion to the AP US. When you're in physics, so at this point, let's assume as a junior that this student took biology freshman year, chemistry sophomore year, and physics junior year. And a B is a solid grade, but it probably tells me that this student doesn't like super love it, isn't really knocking it out of the park, maybe just isn't really into the lab sciences as much. But if they're a serious student and really looking at some selective colleges, it would be a good idea for them to move into the AP environmental science. It shows they're making serious academic choices, but it's not the level of rigor of, say, an AP physics would be. So then the real question for this student comes down to, okay, I'm in pre-calculus, on level, it's fine, I'm doing okay, I don't love it. Do I take calculus or do I take statistics? This is a place where you really could go either way. You might want to ask yourself the question that our questioner asked a moment ago of like, what major do I want? If I am interested in majoring in business or in engineering, probably I want to think about a calculus class. If I'm more likely to major, say, in a social sciences, since I have the AP US and the AP Comparative Gov and the Spanish 4, maybe I don't need to push myself in that direction. Maybe I'm someone who really does well when I can see the relevance of what I'm working on, see it in the real world, then I might really thrive in the AP statistics class. So in this case, there's not really a right or wrong answer just based on the transcript. But when you think about the full student, some of those questions will help you come to the right answer. So this student is a sophomore. So we're in, again, January. So they're trying to figure out, what do I do when I'm jumping into my junior year, which I know will likely be more rigorous. So right now, my first semester grades, I have English on level in 10th grade, and I'm knocking it out of the park. I have a solid A. With pre-calculus, and it's fine. I'm handling it. I have a B+. I don't love it. It's hard, but it's fine. AP chemistry. So I probably took biology freshman year and jumped right into AP Chem sophomore year instead of taking an on-level chem class first. And I'm getting a B-. So that's really, that class is a little more of a struggle for me. It's not, maybe wasn't a great fit. It's good that I pushed myself, but maybe I'm not hitting the performance that I would like to be. I'm taking the AP Gov now, the AP Government and Politics class, and I'm knocking it out of the park. I love it. I have an A, I'm a great teacher. So that's really naturally going to lead to the AP US. And then there's French. I'm taking French 3, and it's just not working for me. I've been taking French since 5th, 6th grade, and it's just never really hit well with me. So I have a C. So this is a student who I might say, you made it to French 3, even though it's only sophomore year. You can drop it. If you think you can manage French 4, then maybe don't push yourself into the honors or AP English, because you want to have enough kind of academic energy to manage French 4 and maybe do a little bit better than you've done in French 3. If you really hate it, or you really think that it's not going to be a grade that you're going to get up into the B range, then you can drop it. If you drop it, then I highly recommend that you take that AP English, because if you're ever dropping down from a course, you want to show that you're doing it to give yourself an opportunity to explore rigor or challenge in another thing that you're really good at. And my guess is, given the A in English right now and the A in AP Gov, that AP English would actually come pretty nicely to this student and would pair really well with the AP US history. I think we have one more in here. Yes. So this student, again, we're in the sophomore year and January. So their course registration for junior year. So honors English 11, loving it, knocking it out of the park. Honors, sorry, this is not a junior. This is a, oh, that should say honors English 10. Apologies. Honors English 10, and I have an A. Honors Algebra 2 with Trig, and I have an A. Honors Chem, it's fine. I'm managing it. I have a B. AP Gov, solid. I have an A. Honors Spanish 4, I have an A. So I'm doing really well this sophomore year, and I'm trying to figure out where I want to jump for junior year. So probably if I have an A in honors English 10, it's a really natural fit for me to move into the AP Lang class. That's a pretty obvious choice. If I have an A in the honors algebra 2, I'm going to jump into honors pre-calc. Also a pretty obvious choice. If I have a B in honors chem, I probably took honors biology freshman year. It would be the natural choice to jump into the honors physics, even though I only have a B. Now I could jump into on-level physics if that was something I was really not feeling or really nervous about. But the natural thing that a college would expect you to do is to move into the honors physics. And physics is a little more mathy than chemistry. So given the A in the math class, it also might come a little more easily to this student. I'm going to come back to the history in a second. I have the honors Spanish 4. I have a solid A. I'm going to jump into honors Spanish 5. Some schools would let you go straight from honors Spanish 4 to the AP Spanish. There are 2 AP Spanish courses. You can take one in your junior year, AP Spanish Culture, or AP Spanish Composition, and then one in your senior year, AP Spanish Literature. So kind of the same way we do the AP English classes. So this student, if they really love Spanish with that A, they might jump right into the AP Spanish that would pair nicely with the AP Lang class. Now the question for this student, remember they're a sophomore, they have an AP Gov, and they're doing quite well in it. A natural choice would be the AP History, the AP US History. But I would want the student to take a step and wonder, just to make sure I want to push myself in all 5 areas and jump into 2 or 3 AP classes. So this is a place where you really want to ask, like, where's my sweet spot of rigor and also balance and also like having fun and doing things if we ever get to go outside and have friends again. So those are the kinds of questions we'd want this student to ask. All right, so I'm going to jump into the Q&A. If you have other questions you'd like to add, please do. For engineers, hard science students, if AP BC Calc is the terminal course of the school and student takes it in grade 11, great question. Where do they go next? Could they take AP Stat? Would it be viewed as a step down, or should they go for something more challenging like multivariable through a place like Johns Hopkins Center for Talented Youth? Great question. And I've talked about this specifically to a couple of colleges. So the first answer is to remember that you are seen in the context of your high school. So if you didn't have an option of multivariable, no one is going to rate you more poorly because you didn't take multivariable. So if you want to go find a way to take multivariable calculus on your own, that would certainly be seen as a true mark of your rigor, of your commitment, and of your curiosity about math. But it would not in any way be an expectation. Taking the AP Stats would keep your head in the game on math. It would keep you kind of propelling forward. And this is something that I might advise you when you apply to colleges. There is a place where you have a specific opportunity to say, colleges say, is there anything you want to tell us about your transcript? I would probably say quite straightforwardly, hey, would have taken multivariable, our school didn't offer it, these are the things I did instead. So that might be a good option for you. I will say every college that I've talked to, because there are also some students who maybe are like super mathy students who want to be math majors and math thinkers, but maybe they didn't even get to the calculus. Maybe their school, they didn't have an opportunity to take algebra in 8th grade. So they started high school in 9th grade with algebra and made it only to the pre-calc. And I've spoken to a number of top colleges, and they've all said, we want to understand your math story. If your math story is, I love math and I'm great at it, and here's where I started, so here's where I finished, then that's absolutely appropriate for them. They are not going to judge that more harshly just because a different student had more opportunities to take different math classes. All right, our next question is from Matthew. If a student in their sophomore year is currently in Spanish 4, should they take AP Spanish in junior year if they already have 3 AP courses planned for junior year? I literally just had this conversation with a sophomore about an hour ago. The answer really for this one comes down to, and it should be a question you ask for all your APs, how much do I like this? Don't take it for the sake of rigor. Take it for the sake of, this is a class I'm willing to work outside of my classroom, outside of my normal homework hours to really put in the extra learning time. Now, the AP Spanish classes are great classes. You both learn a ton about writing and a ton about sort of culture and literature at a high level, for high school. So they're neat courses. But if you have made it to Spanish 4, kind of dragging yourself through and getting yourself across the finish line, I wouldn't say it's necessary when you already have such rigor in your junior year. That's a place where you can start to ask yourself, okay, every transcript tells a story. What am I likely to have as my academic direction? Where do I want to put my energy here? Because you're also at this point probably thinking about, what is my timeline for testing? What are my extracurriculars? We have not had an opportunity to have very many extracurriculars in the last couple of years during COVID. So I think students are really eager to put some energy into things outside of the classroom. So all of those are questions that I would ask before I would get to, should you take it or not take it? What I would say is, if you're a sophomore in Spanish 4, and you're looking to have a highly rigorous transcript for maybe some highly selective colleges, then taking at least the Spanish 5 would be a really smart move for you. Next question. I am interested in history and doing well at it. Awesome. I was an art history major and I love it. I would like to take 2 history classes senior year. How would it look to drop science after taking bio, chem, and physics? If not science, what could I drop? Absolutely, you could drop science. This is exactly the same place that many students find themselves in when they think about dropping social science. You could, my guess is, if you are super interested in physics and history and want to be taking multiple history classes senior year, that you are not likely to apply to college as a bio major. You are likely to apply to college in those essays about your academic direction. You're going to say, I'm really interested in the social sciences. I really love history. I love asking smart, deep, broad questions and critical thinking. And all of that then will be shown in the choices you've made in your transcript. And there are a ton of super cool AP histories out there, AP Psych, AP Human Geography, and a ton of just history electives at a lot of schools in the area. And so absolutely, if that is an academic interest you have and you are dropping science to take other academic courses, that is a totally strong and respectable choice. A question regarding modern languages. If I already speak a different language at home fluently, maybe I even have a different passport, is it still critical to take a 3rd language in school, e.g. Spanish or French? Unfortunately, yes. It's great when you have multiple languages. That is something you really want to highlight on your college application. But it typically does not take the place of them wanting you to have studied language in an academic manner at the high school level. It would probably be, it could be an argument for dropping after sophomore year if you wanted to, but you should probably still be taking. Again, if you're looking at kind of creating a transcript that demonstrates commitment to scholarship and rigor, so many, this is another way where they're a little more traditional, so many graduate level fields of discipline require multiple languages to do the research and the study. So they'd want to see you kind of pushing yourself in that direction. All right, I think I have touched on all of the questions here. I'm gonna vamp for a second while we see if there's anything else coming up. We are running a little bit early, which is great. I always like to let folks go early if we have a chance. Okay, sounds like we're in good shape. Thank you so much for your time. I know that, again, it's probably not as much fun just to hear me talk for an hour as it might have been if I had had a colleague with me to share different experiences. I hope that the fundamental message here is that the choices you should be making in high school are about exploring things you're excited about. I do have one more question, so I'm going to get to that in 1 second. And that there's not wrong choices here. You want to just know what story you're telling by the choices you're making. My school has no AP or IB classes. I've taken advanced biology in 9th grade and advanced chemistry in 10th grade. In 11th grade, I can't take the advanced physics because pre-calc is a prerequisite. Will it look bad to take regular fixes? Absolutely not. That is another place where you might want to, in your college application, kind of point that out. You might say, hey, this is the prerequisite. It also is a place, it also is a piece of information that might come up in that school profile I was talking about that will often give prerequisites that are required for courses. So it would be clear that you wouldn't have been able to take it. And that will certainly be the no AP, no IB classes will certainly be in the school profile. So you will not be held to any sort of accountability standard for not taking those when the colleges know that you weren't able to take them. So that's a bummer that it sounds like you're kind of stuck in a spot where you'd like to be moving forward in a different way with the physics, but you aren't quite able to. It might be worth asking the academic dean or your teacher or someone at school if there's any way to have an exception, because it sounds like you were someone who maybe has excelled in science so far. But strictly from a college point of view, it's not likely to hurt you. It's out of your hands. So again, it's a great time to sort of point out there's no wrong answers here if you are being kind of thoughtful and doing a lot of thinking about yourself and how you are most likely to succeed, and pushing yourself to find your balance. Your balance will be different than someone else's balance. You're not looking for perfection here. You're looking for your perfect equilibrium where you are pushing yourself and challenging yourself and growing, but still able to maintain both balance and mastery and excellence and some sanity along the way. Thank you so much for your time. Please, please, please reach out to us if you have any questions. My email is here on the screen, and I believe our phone number is as well. I hope you all have a wonderful evening and stay warm and have a great weekend.